Hello, aspiring game developers, and welcome to another NDS programming tutorial. I will tell you guys right now that I am planning to at least have one of these tutorial videos up every week. I can't guarantee that for sure, especially with next week's tutorial, because you will find out today we're covering a topic that I have a love-hate relationship with, and that is Maude, our sound system library for the NDS. The reason I have a love-hate relationship with this is because, well, the love side is, when it works, it's awesome. And especially with today's topic, it almost always works. The problem is, there's a couple times it hasn't worked, and it's kind of cost us big. One of those times was when I was making one of those super old tutorials that are still up on our channel, at least at the time of me making this, and that went horribly wrong. It's still up there if you want to see just how bad and buggy the whole system was. It was horrible. The second of those times was actually when we were making running water. Our game ran fine on like emulators and everything, but it turned out that the music was actually choking up the game, causing it to crash on the system, and it took us forever to figure out that's what the problem was. However, since both of those issues have since been resolved, oh gosh, not sure if you guys heard that. Anyways, since both of those issues have since been resolved, I am making another tutorial at 12:09 a.m. That is 9 minutes past midnight. So, let's begin with Maude. Well, there's one way to do it. It's to include it. This is actually an outside library precompiled, so that's why it's Maude 9.h in these, and the 9 actually stands for ARM9. If you guys don't know, the NDS, I've mentioned it's a dual processor system. It's got an ARM9 CPU and an ARM7 CPU. We are always coding for the ARM9. The ARM7 is actually set up to work with Maude already, so there is a way that you can actually code for the ARM7, but at least when we're using Nightfox and such, we don't. So, now that we've got that included, we need to start figuring out how to get our sound effects loaded into the system. And of course that means conversion, just like our graphics. So, if I go here bring this over here, and I look at all the links for these tutorial videos, there's going to be a new one which will be linked in the description called Converter. Now, I apologize to all of the non-Windows users there, but I built a program to make this process a lot simpler, and it's Windows only. The reason for that is because basically I needed to get a list of all the audio files in this folder, all these sound effects that would go into this folder, and I need to send them to a command line as arguments before I ran this program called mmutil. Now, normally, if you're a Windows guy, you would use a batch file. However, I'm not very good with batch programming, and I figured it would take me twice as long to figure out how to do it in a batch file as it would to actually just create a C++ method of doing it. Sorry, it's kind of lazy, but you know, it works. So anyways, the way this is set up is you basically, in this audio folder, you drop in all of the WAV files for all your sound effects, and you will run this sound to ds.exe. You want to make sure that wherever this exe program is, in the same folder should be mmutil.exe and an audio folder. So if I run this right now, and the actual console window popped up on my other screen, you'll notice that we got 3 new files to pop up. The print.txt is actually my super lazy way of figuring out all the files in the folder. I basically called a Windows command to just print them out for me. So then I could open and I'd know what the file name is, so then I could open it and read it all back in. I know, I'm kind of a really sketchy workaround way of doing it, but it works. And I've had other people on their Windows machines use this program to get sound effects, haven't had an issue. So that's what's happening. The other 2 files, on the other hand, are actually the ones we're really interested in. There is the soundbank.h, which it's a header file, so that means that we're probably going to be sticking it into our program. So if I grab our right here, we're going to be dragging that right inside. And that soundbank.binary, it's a binary file, which most people are like, oh, what's a binary file? Well, it's just going to be another module that we're going to have in Nitro files. So we're going to drag that in there, and now we're ready to go. And we can delete this just to clean up. And that's that. So now that's out of the way. We have our program here. I'm actually going to drag that out of the way too. We are going to go add that new header file, and we are going to include it in our project. So one thing I should mention as I'm typing this out, I love code blocks. One thing I should mention as I'm typing this out, or not typing this out anymore, is that the soundbank header file, not the soundbank header file, I'm getting lost here. It is 12:15 now. Oh gosh, this video is going to be a long one. So anyways, and I say that a lot. Guys, if you ever have this kind of issues trying to make tutorials or something, let me know in the comments. What I'm trying... yeah, I am tired. But what I am trying to say here is that your sound effects should be WAV files. There, I said it. It's about time. Yes, sound effects should be WAV files when you put them into your audio folder. Also, you may want to have them named similarly to how you will want to load them. Not exactly, because they're going to be loaded a little bit differently than how you're loading in backgrounds, but still, you will want to figure out the names so you can differentiate them. So, now that we've got our systems loaded, we need to add an initialize function. And normally I like to do this right after the nfset root folder. And what we are going to be calling is a maxmod function called init default. then we have to pass in the address of our soundbank.binary, which is actually going to be soundbank.binary. Very simple. If you want to learn more about like the maxmod functions and what it can actually do, you can find that in devkitpro.org/maxmod.org. And if you do /ref, you'll find all like the documentation and stuff for it. So now that we've got our sound bank loaded, the next thing we're going to have to do is we are going to have to load our sound effects. So why don't we load that right before we load our tile backgrounds. Load. I always forget the actual code for it. Yeah, it's just load effect. Xmod is not always the most consistent as far as conventions for function names and such. But anyways, so we're going to load the effect, but first we gotta figure out what our effect name is. Because remember, this is actually because all of our effects got packed into this one giant binary file. So we need to figure out where those are. And to do that, we gotta open up this soundbank.h file. Now this is really cool that it does it this way. You'll see it makes a bunch of defines for all of our different sound effects. And all the sound effects are prefixed sfx underscore, and it will capitalize everything in any character it doesn't really know how to treat. It'll just replace with an underscore. So let's see. How about we do fire? No, we gotta do fire death. I don't know. How about we do... How would I load in that drum loop that I had playing at the very beginning? So there is our sound effects test, all ready to go. So now that we got it loaded in, there are a couple of options as to how to get it to play. For the simplest one is to just call effect and test. And that really should be all. So every time after somebody types something in, there should be a test. And then right before the end, I will just type this out to show you guys. There is an unload effect to unload it. So there. That's how easy it is to get your sound effects into the game. But that's not everything you can do. You can effect or load effect. No, not load effect, but effect. After a sound effect gets played, it actually returns a handle that you can use to customize the effect. Or you can create your own handle and then play the effect that way. And you can find out all of this in the MaxMod um, documentation. If you go to reference, there should be a DS programming tutorial. Skip the whole first section, which talks about makefiles. I've already done that for you. Getting MaxMod hooked up with Nightfox library, I had to go through and manually combine the makefiles to get that working. But after that, you should see basically how to get maxmod9.h, the soundbank.h, or the sound loading in the init default soundbank binary. That's a typo. There we go. I don't know what it's complaining about now, but I'm talking about those little red squigglies, by the way. Anyways, I believe that is it, so hopefully this will build for us. And it built, which is good. So I'm going to put my headphones on here to make sure that this is actually going to work. Drag that over here. Enter. Hey, there's our sound effect. So that is awesome. It is working. Hopefully that drum roll does not blow your ears off. I apologize if it did. But that's how easy it is to get your sound effects in. And very, very simple with MaxMod. Very, very easy to just get them converted into the correct format if you're in Windows. If you're in Linux, go to the MaxMods site and look for where it talks about mmutil, and you'll see the actual command line commands that you gotta put in to convert. You can also run mmutil from a command line, and it should if you just run it without sending anything, it'll actually tell you the parameters that you actually need to put in to do what you want to do. I'm not going to show that off because running the command line on my computer to get mmutil is kind of annoying. That's actually why I built the program. And of course, typing out all the different sound effects that you want converted is really annoying. But that's all there is. I should note that you could also set it up so that the sound bank binary will actually be. You can also set it up so that automatically the entire sound bank gets loaded into memory when the game starts. It's kind of an old-fashioned way people used to do it when basically the entire games were programmed on the 4 megabytes RAM, at least for like this dev kit setup. Obviously, professional games have been doing it with file loading the entire time. But eventually, the dev kit arm figured out, the people behind that, they figured out how to read from files in in like your ROM disk, whatever. And so MaxMod can use that, and I highly recommend it because it does not load the entire sound bank binary into RAM. Using this command, it'll just say that's the file location, and then when you actually call like load effect, that's when it actually loads it into RAM, and you don't even have to worry about like other types of memory. It's just in RAM, the biggest memory on the DS. So very, very easy. Well, I apologize for rambling on most of this tutorial. kind of just need to fill it with stuff because this tutorial is so easy to get sound effects working. So with that, I think I'm ready to close this tutorial up. I'll be seeing you guys next week with another one, or maybe tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure. I have no idea. But anyways, just a reminder, if you do have questions on any of these videos, or you want to see or if a video like this ends up being so bad that you can't follow it and you want me to remake it, or just you have questions or can't get something working, please leave your any questions or comments and anything in the comment section. We will read those, and if we get enough questions, I will actually make a video dedicated to questions to solve whatever issues you may be having. Hopefully, at least. But that's all there is for this video. So until next time, guys, keep making games, people.